4 years, 4 elections, and very little progress. Spain's socialists pick up the most seats in Sunday's vote, but not enough to govern. Can the Prime Minister forge a coalition, or is the country destined to remain deadlocked? I'm Imran Garta, and today's newsmaker is the Spanish election. When Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez called for another vote just 7 months after the last one, it was a huge political gamble, and it seems to have backfired. His Socialist Party may have won the largest share of the vote, but today they're worse off in Parliament. Instead, the night belonged just as much to the far right. The Vox Party more than doubled its seats to become the third most powerful political force. At the center of their campaign was a hardline approach against Catalan independence. Now they could play a real role in forming Spain's next government. Pedro Sanchez will have to decide who he's willing to negotiate with. And if he wants to break the deadlock, he may have few options. Adria Alsina has more.
Spain's Prime Minister is celebrating Sunday's election result, but he knows too well the night didn't belong to him alone. His governing Socialist Party won the most seats, but fell short of a majority. Pedro Sanchez had hoped the poll would strengthen his party's position, but the result seems to have done the opposite. He now has fewer seats in Spain's 350-seat parliament, whereas the far-right Vox Party has more than doubled its share since the last election in April.
Today, we are Spain's third political force. We have 52 lawmakers, and apart from that, during these elections, we are the party which gained more votes and seats.
Analysts say Vox was helped by an anti-separatist feeling that has grown in response to the pro-Catalan independence movement. But Sanchez has made it clear who he is willing to work with.
We call on all political parties, except those that exclude themselves from coexistence and plant a discourse of hate and anti-democracy.
This was Spain's fourth election in as many years. Sunday's result is unlikely to resolve the political deadlock. Sanchez's left-wing allies also suffered. To form a government, the Prime Minister might have to reach out to his rivals, the Conservative People's Party, or consider a third election in just 1 year. Despite the stakes, many people stayed away from the voting booths on Sunday, a sign that Spaniards are tired of repeat elections and the deadlock.
It's been a mistake to repeat the elections. The situation is worse than a few months ago. In Catalonia, there is still an incontestable support for independence. We must find a political solution to this situation, and with the current result, it is more difficult than before.
With neither the left nor the right gaining an outright majority, what are the chances of Spain forming a government in the coming weeks? Adria Alsina, The Newsmakers.
Let's try and answer some of that by going to Madrid, where we're joined by Luis Arroyo. He was a political advisor to Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez. Also in Madrid is Carlo Angrisano. He's the international secretary of the youth wing of the conservative PP party. And in Barcelona, we have Adria Alsina. He was the international press officer for the Catalan National Assembly, and he's now a professor of journalism at the Central University of Catalonia. Gentlemen, good to have you all on the program. Luis, let's start with you. So, a victory of sorts, but I'm guessing it's like you won the game, but you lost on away goals. Bittersweet?
There's a second victory for the socialists that is incontestable. The socialists won again the elections in a very difficult situation, with a court ruling regarding the so-called process in Catalonia. Paradoxically, the situation is a little bit better now because the Spanish people is not willing to repeat another time the elections. So all the political agents, all the political actors are going to be willing to help to the formation of a government. Second, Podemos, the leftist party that it's probably going to support Sanchez government, is weaker now than it was only a week ago. And third, Ciudadanos, the big centrist party, has lost most of its support. His leader just resigned half an hour ago. So paradoxically, the situation is not as bad as it was
You say paradoxically,
in December.
But again, that's a lot of guessing, right? I mean, Podemos were in a stronger position in the past when they said they don't want to work with the Prime Minister's party. It's going to be interesting to see if they do this time around. Luis, just looking at it with a bit of perspective, if you had a certain amount of seats in Parliament, and then you called for a new election, and then you have fewer seats after that new election, you failed, haven't you?
No, because you still win the elections after a court ruling in the Catalonian process. You still win, considering that this is the fourth time that Spaniards are called to the elections. You are still winning. There's no other candidate than Pedro Sanchez. Nobody doubts about that in Spain right now. The only one that can form a government is him. And you still, yes, you're right. You get 3 seats less than 7 months ago, but you still are the winner with a huge difference with the second party, which is a Popular Party.
And talking about okay, fair enough. Carlo Angrisano, talking about seat numbers, you guys got more than 20 more than the last time. Would you agree with Luis when he says that the socialists are paradoxically the true winners of this election, or do you feel that you guys are among the winners?
Well, first, thanks of all for having me here. And I would say that no one is a winner after yesterday night. The Spaniards went for the 4th time in 4 years to a vote, to cast ballots. They don't understand why. It was not necessary. The elections in April were clear enough. There was a possibility. There were actually 4 possible coalitions to form a government. Now there are even less possible coalitions to form a government, a stable government for the socialists. They lost almost 1 million votes. They lost 3 MPs, which is not much, but that's due to the electoral law. And if there is any winner, it's the separatist parties, the parties that support a coup d'etat in Spain. And that's very worrying. And that doesn't mean that there is a winner. It means that our societies are losing. And this is what we understand. Of course, we are happy, we are glad that we can have new MPs among our parliamentarian groups. But, you know, sometimes we have to put country above party.
Adria Alsina, when Carlo talks about the separatist parties, he's talking about you and your bedfellows. Do you feel as if this election has brought you any closer to achieving your dreams?
Whether it has brought us closer to achieving our dream, that's actually part responsibility of the Spanish government. If the Spanish government is willing to talk, the separatists or the pro-independence parties in Catalonia, they're already said they are willing to talk. They're always willing to talk. Actually, the president of the Catalan autonomous government has again tried to call Mr. Sanchez, President Sanchez, this morning, and apparently they've told him that he was in a meeting. So we see how the Spanish government is willing to talk with a group of pro-independence parties that have gained support and have gained 1 extra seat, that have gained 3 more extra percentage points.
And Adria, when people say this is all your fault, this political mess that started 2 years ago, and the reason why Spain's having all these elections, and the reason Spain's having all the soul-searching in terms of its identity is because of that vote that happened in Catalonia 2 years ago, your response is what?
Yeah, well, this is like saying that the fault of the Ku Klux Klan existing is because Rosa Parks decided to hop on a bus, right? It's really funny to say that those who are thrown in jail are the responsible ones for the fascists gaining some more support. Essentially, what is true is that Spain will never be able to govern itself again unless it deals with the Catalan pro-independence movement in a democratic way instead of the hard stance.
Luis Arroyo, I know the
That's
last time...
that's absolutely
Okay, yeah,
that
come in.
absolutely not mathematically. That's not true. I have to tell you that that's not true. There are other possibilities without the support of the independentist parties. People have to understand all around the world that you cannot fill your dreams of independency with half of the population against it. That's the real problem in Catalonia. It's not the state. It's not the constitution. The real problem in Catalonia is that you guys know perfectly well that you have at the most only half of the population. You know it perfectly well, better than me. So comparing your cause with that of Rosa Parks, I think it's just a crazy idea.
Okay.
The situation in Catalonia is very important for Spain as a whole, of course, but you cannot get your dreams at all without having the support, at least, of a huge majority of the population. You are going against half of your people, and that's the real reason of your failing.
Don't worry because with the actions of your government, we are growing, and we will be getting that support. Don't worry.
I am. Yeah, no, but you said it 10 years ago when you started, 8 years ago when you started, in 1911. I mean, in 2011, you guys started this huge process that had taken you to nowhere. There's no more support. In fact, the anti-independentist forces have won the elections in Catalonia again. You never got one vote more than the majority.
Sorry, but that's
you got
not
more
true.
seats.
That's not
you
true.
got more seats. You got more seats
Adria?
in your assembly, but you never got 51% of the vote. And even considering that, you cannot get to your dreams without the support of half of your own people that are against your positions. That's my view, and I'm not worried. I'm very worried about Spain, of course. Most of us, and especially myself, love Catalonia, of course. And we are very worried about the situation, but don't get people confused about your real support.
Adria Alsina?
First of all, Mr. Arroyo hasn't answered. Does he think that Mr. Sanchez should be talking to the president elected?
I told you, he doesn't,
or not?
He doesn't,
or
arithmetically, he doesn't need the support of the independentists. Arithmetically, I can give you,
well,
I mean, it would be very worrying.
Good luck achieving a pact with whoever it is.
Guys,
it's
sorry,
right.
I would like to
doesn't
I would
matter.
like to
In a
interrupt.
year or two,
let's give Carlo a chance. Okay, so Adria says good luck.
Have even more support.
Okay, so Adria tells Luis, good luck getting any semblance of support if you just disregard the separatists. Carlo wants to come in. Come in, Carlo.
Yes, look, there is a big problem. And the problem is, dear Luis, I met you before and I deeply respect you, but there is a problem when we are even discussing the possibility that the socialists would make a deal with the separatists. And that's what brought us here in the first place. And this is what we have to analyze. And that's the... I know, but there is something that you should talk with your party, and that's the lack of willing to find a compromise with your Prime Minister, Pedro Sanchez. He doesn't want to compromise, and that's a big problem. He was offered many times.
My dear friend, my party supported Mr. Rajoy when, and you know that, after the repetition of the second elections. My party going through a very difficult process in which Pedro Sanchez had to resign.
You perfectly know
so you know that. No, there's
the
a
night
chance.
before the second vote,
now.
you know perfectly that the night before the second vote on Mr. Rajoy, your party had to sack out his Secretary General, who happens to be, again, Pedro Sanchez. And we offered him support during the legislature. We offered him, if he find, we offered him,
didn't offer,
if you find
the Popular Party never offered anything.
Prime Minister,
never.
We will support you with essential states. Well, the Popular Party many things, and normally these
never did
are
anything,
very sane things.
in favor of the socialists. But anyway.
So listen, Carlo and Luis, I want to move forward a little bit. Carlo, as somebody on the right, or center-right, as they call the PP, when you look at the victory of a party like Vox. I've asked Luis his opinion on Vox before. He's been on the show before with a member of Vox. Luis thinks they are fascists, or at least neo-fascists, right?
No, of course they are.
Right, okay, so Carlo, when you look at them from the right, I'm intrigued, when you look at them from the right, are you going to have to go further and further and further to the right, because you're seeing these guys who admire General Franco doing spectacularly well at the polls, as is evidenced by this recent vote?
Well, first of all, let me do some reasoning here. The ones that love to talk about Franco and the ones that wanted absolutely to remove Franco from his tomb were the socialists. So I don't know exactly who are the Frankists or the fascists here. Vox, of course, is a much harder right-wing party than we are. But that doesn't mean that they are fascists. That's in a first place. And in a second place, we won the seats that we won thanks to the fact that we are a center-right party. So we are placed in the center and in the right. And this is probably what made Ciudadanos lose most of their seats. So we are not going one direction or the other because there is one or another party. We are only following our principles and what we believe in. Of course, look, we have many differences with Vox. We don't share everything. As a matter of fact, they are as scared of getting responsibility that they don't want to get in the governments with us, and they love to be our opposition. So, you know, they are not our friends, but we collaborate with them. And if the left of this country, especially the cultural left of this country, keeps calling them fascists and keeps insulting Vox, that's for sure that they will keep growing and growing. And that's something that people they don't understand why. And it's as simple as you cannot start insulting someone just because
and
they
Carlo,
are
this is going to be
and they do the same to us.
Carlo,
They
but
do the same to
when you see
Ciudadanos.
Vox doing well, and then you have Marine Le Pen congratulate them, and when you have Geert Wilders congratulate them, and Salvini and so on, does that not give you any indication whatsoever that maybe that something is afoot here?
Look, I really don't believe that there are 3 million fascists in Spain that wake up every morning thinking about fascism and dictatorship. I believe that okay, then we agree on that. And a second place, Vox in the European Parliament is in the European Conservative and Reformist group. And this is not the same political group as Marine Le Pen. Marine Le Pen would love to have an ally here in Spain. Look, it's not my place here to say that, but anyone can support you from a foreign country. It doesn't mean that you have an alliance or whatsoever. Vox, as a matter of fact, is not even with Salvini. They are with Fratelli d'Italia, and they attend their meetings. So, look, we have to start. You have to start telling the truth about
and that's what we're trying to do. And listen, we tried to get a Vox member on. Okay, we tried to get a Vox member on this panel. Listen, we tried to get somebody from Vox on this panel. We couldn't this time around, but we will next time. Carlo, this is where we thank you. We're going to say goodbye now to Carlo. I thank you so much for joining us here on the Newsmakers. Now we're going to bring in Rafael Arenas. He's the former president of the Catalan Civil Society, a group against the secession of Catalonia. And undoubtedly, Rafael, you would have been listening to the preceding 15 minutes or so, and you would have an opinion or two. I'm going to give you the liberty to have a little comment of everything about everything you've heard so far. Go ahead.
Thank you very much. Well, I think that we have been talking about labels. I have been talking about fascist or non-fascist, far right, and I think that talking about labels is not useful in politics, and it's not useful in politics in Spain. The fact is that we have here a strong divided society in Catalonia, and we have here a strong divided society in Spain. In Catalonia, of course, the point of division is people in favor of independence and people against independence. And we must say, this is a fact, that the people in favor of independence never has obtained more than 48% of the votes in the last election. In the election yesterday, 42% of the votes. This is not a huge percentage of votes to reclaim an independence. This is the strongest divisions here in Catalonia. And in the whole Spain, there is a strong division between right and left. This is a little bit sad, but there is even a confrontation farther than rationality between people who reclaim for themselves the title of Democrats, of progressists, and people who is in a more skeptical view. And this strong division has a translation in the Spanish Constitution of 1978. At this point, there is people trying to change in deep the Constitution of 1978, and people who think that the Constitution is still now the best tool for the Spanish society. If we look at the Parliament, of the Congress, of the Spanish Congress, we see that most of the seats are of parties who think that the Spanish Constitution is still a good tool. But of course, there is a strong division between them for the issue of Catalonia. And well, I think that the problem we are facing now is who is going to govern Spain and which alliance in the next years. We have a very I'm not going to say bad situation, but a situation with an economical crisis coming. This is for sure, and problems in Catalonia, and we need for the whole Spain a strong government. And it's difficult to obtain here a strong government.
So Adria Alsina, it's a strongly divided society, and it's only likely to be even more divided given the election results, because it's very difficult to get all these differing parties to agree on a common consensus. Do you agree with Rafael on that point?
I partially agree with him, and I wanted to weigh in by saying that what we heard before from the representatives of the Socialist Party and the People's Party, that's exactly by the book how you whitewash fascism or ultranationalism. If your audience might have noticed that on one hand, the People's Party, the representative was saying, no, we would never, ever have an agreement with some pro-independence parties, and yet they can have agreements with the ultranationalists of Vox. So essentially what they're telling their voters is the ultranationalists / fascists of Vox are even better than those pro-independence parties. And on the other side, Mr. Arroyo from the Socialist Party was also saying that the Vox Party is as bad as the pro-independence leaders, which is what Mr.
I didn't say that. I
Prime
didn't say
Minister
that at all.
Sanchez has been saying.
I'm sorry.
No, but
I'm sorry, but I deny that.
This is what.
Sorry, I'm very sorry,
but
I didn't say that at all. I'm sorry.
Luis, go and clarify that.
This is what Prime Minister Sanchez has been saying.
But Luis didn't say it. Luis, go ahead.
Excuse me, sir. I didn't say that. But I didn't say that. I didn't say at all that.
So
okay,
you could,
right?
so you could come to an agreement. So you could come to an agreement with pro-independence parties, or they're.
Let me tell you.
Let Luis explain.
Let me tell you something. I'm not here representing the PSOE. I work for the PSOE. I feel socialist. I'm not representing any official position of my party. First thing. Second thing. You know that an agreement was sought by President Sanchez with you guys. He tried, but what you cannot do is go against.
Esquerra Republicana, the main pro-independence party, said that they would give you your votes for free. And Mr. Sanchez didn't even want them. They didn't even want the pro-independence votes for free. Imagine that.
You cannot go against laws. You cannot go against our constitution, and you cannot go against your own Institute of Autonomy. You cannot do that. And if you do that, again, of course, the only justice that we have in Spain as a country is going to be acting.
Right.
There's no doubt. there's no doubt a division of powers in our country,
Right.
and you have to accept that.
Right.
You cannot
I want to bring in Rafael. Okay, so Luis and Adria,
Let me just rephrase this,
okay.
just for a second.
Very briefly, please,
Let me just
Adria.
rephrase this.
There's a minute left on the program, very briefly.
Yeah, just then what is the proposal? What is the proposal of the Socialist Party, or what is your proposal
I'm not gonna
deal
give Luis a chance
with
to answer that.
Catalonia
Luis,
in a democratic way?
Luis, I'm not going to give you a chance to answer that. You know why? Because I want to get Rafael to wrap us up here. There's a minute left on the program. We're almost getting as messy as Spanish Parliament right now on this program. Rafael, is Spanish democracy in a healthy place despite all the troubles?
I think so. I think that we have a strong democracy at this point. We have a deep discussion, but I'm an optimistic person. I think that we have enough tools to recover of the problems we have. At the end, things are less dramatic than we always think. 2 years ago, we were facing a real secession of one part of the country. This is now forgotten. We have another problem, serious problems, but the most serious problems we have 2 years ago has gone with the wind. So I think that we can look at the future with optimism.
Spanish politics, as an outsider, to me, they're never boring and always fascinating, and it's always an education. I thank you all for joining us. Luis Arroyo, Adria Alsina, Rafael Arenas, and earlier Carlo Angrisano. Thanks so much for joining us on The Newsmakers. Thanks for watching. See you next time.